and to Kathy as well for co-hosting. Thank you for your service. My name's Tony and I'm an alcoholic. Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be here, really is. Um, this is an odd topic. I thought long and hard about this one. It's something that I haven't sort of shared on overly before, and I suppose I thought that would be better than doing something that I've done before. So bear with me. This is a big topic for me. It's a big meaning for me. And I'll explain a bit why. I'll sort of take it apart if I can. Um, it might make sense, or I might sound absolutely full of shit. So we'll just take it bit by bit. Um, when I finally opened this book, which was hid in a drawer for a long, long time, I instructed my partner not to open the drawer, don't look at the drawer, don't think about the drawer. Didn't want to acknowledge that I had been given the book. Didn't want any part of it. And eventually, when the Great Persuader done its job, I started going through this book as I should with a sponsor. So my go-to was the sponsor speaks. I don't talk. I don't like him. I don't have to talk to him. I'll listen. My partner will know that I'm listening, and then I can stop. So he done that. He done what he was supposed to do. He read the book. No more, no less. That was it. He had the patience of a saint, and I had the attitude of a demon. And he just kept reading. So I never spoke. And through the very first pages, sort of making our way through step one, we got to there's a solution. I was in a very bad state at the time when we were actually going through this. I had DTs. My mind couldn't focus. I was hearing probably one word out of every 30, 40. And then something started happening. So if you look at there's a solution, if you have your big book by chance there on page 25, the second paragraph down, it's one line, very simple, where I thought it was. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence, of which we had not even dreamed. This is the first time that I stopped him from speaking. It's the first time that I underlined something in the book. And it's the first time I could see almost joy in his face when I stopped him from speaking and actually spoke. I got my shakes under control, got the courage to the back of my throat, and asked him. I didn't really ask anything. I said, "That's really strange." And he said, "What?" And I read the line. I says, "That's really strange, that line." And the emotion that came over me, I'll probably never be able to describe. Don't know why. Don't have to know either. It just got me. And me and my sponsor and different people have talked about this, a lot over the last few years. And I wanted to, I'll share on it, and people will have different opinions. And I think that's amazing because that's what you have to do. So, in regards to the line, first of all, the meaning of the fourth dimension. I've heard a lot of different people say a lot of different things about this. And this is mine, as close to the book as possible. I don't tend to go away from the book. I never will. The meaning of the fourth dimension. I asked a friend about this, and he said it was the eventual presence of a God consciousness. So that didn't mean anything to me in the slightest. I didn't believe in God. It was just a whole heap of, yeah, I regret asking that question. I don't care anymore. And I moved on. Anyway, so I liked it, but I ignored it. And it became my favorite line. I still didn't know why. The one thing that I had accepted is he was talking about your world changing, your life changing, the world around you changing. Well, my world never changed. So from I was around 13, 14, something like that, my life stayed the exact same as it had always been. I drank, opportunities would come up, they would disappear. People would come into my life, they would quickly evaporate. And I would always be the same person with the same problems, the same issues, the same fears, same depressions, anxieties, and the same excuses. No matter what, you could set your watch to me. And that is what I had accepted. This is my life, and this is apparently what I'm choosing. You see, I had a this mentality that I was a rebel. So everything I'm doing, I'm choosing. Um, and no one should ever question it because life's just going great. It wasn't at all. It was barely a life. It was barely existing. So this wasn't going to work for me then because they were saying about and the fourth dimension and the. To be honest, I'm going to be completely honest. The first time someone tried to explain this to me, all I kept thinking was Star Trek, like dimensions and shit. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. And thought I was being signed up to, I don't know, Scientology or some sort of, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good and I wasn't drinking the Kool Aid. But this was the narrative that was just constantly in my head. But I carried on with the steps anyway. I kept pushing through because I didn't have any other choice. By this time, I had, at the end of the drinking, I had decided that it would probably just be best if I wasn't around. Um, I felt like that I had made a well informed decision, and that if everyone was so sick of me and I was so sick of myself, then what was the common denominator? It was me. I was the misery. I caused the misery, and that was it. So it was a yeah, that was it. That was my decision, and it was basically a case of I'm doing these steps, and in my head I was going, why are you doing this? And I thought, well, while I'm on my way out the door, I may as well try. One last quick thing. So I tried. So I had all the same problems, all the same issues. The only difference was I was trying this thing with a guy I didn't like very much, and we would see where that goes. Isn't it mad how life just disappears and reappears as something completely different? When I done these steps, which was, I don't even have the amount of time to go through all that. It was to get out of trouble. It was to make people stay. It was not really to help myself in any sort of way. By the time I had got to step three, it was step three that got me. It was when this wall broke inside my head, this wall of emotion that I couldn't stop in any sort of way. The floodgates opened, emotions come out. I was crying about stuff that happened when I was 8, and it just kept going. And I didn't understand what this was. The alcohol was finally draining from my system. The drugs were draining from my system. I could see, I could hear, I could feel, which was not nice, but it was real. I could feel my skin, like it constantly felt like there was rain, like running down my arms. I didn't know whether I was extremely happy or extremely depressed at the same time. It was like a revolution inside your own body and mind. It was constant. It was new. It was something completely different. When that line says you will be rocketed, it doesn't say you'll be gently walked into. That's exactly what they're talking about. You were rocketed. There's so many other ways you could say it. You will be fucked into the fourth dimension. You will be swiftly kicked into the fourth dimension. There's so many ways you could put it. But this is exactly what happened to me. It didn't happen in these small, unknown increments. What had happened was I decided to do the one thing that my sponsor asked, which was be willing. He says you don't have to do fuck all. The only thing you have to do is be willing. Just be willing for any of this. Be willing to read to me. To be willing that I might be telling you the truth. I says, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Go on ahead. God, I really didn't like the guy. Worse, the weird thing is, I love him now. I really do. He saved my life. He's that's the story for a different day. But all of a sudden, these things started changing. Started with a step three prayer, which brought the emotion instantly. Never had anything like it. And little by little, through all these steps, these things started happening. All the people around me were the same. The problems were the same. something was different, and I don't know what it was. What Everything is the same. My clothes are the same. My hair is the same. Everything's the same. What is this? And I kept asking that to my sponsor, and he kept laughing like a schoolgirl, and it was really starting to piss me off. But he knew exactly what it was, and he says, "You don't have to know." And he says, "If I tell you that I can explain this, then you're with the wrong guy." He says, "You don't have to question it. You just have to accept it." And I said, "Okay." And I kept pushing. And then the next minute, this thing happened. It was like agreed. Like, I need to know what I need more of this, and I don't know what this is, because I went from I can't physically keep my body up straight to almost positivity, which was completely foreign. Positivity didn't happen in this house. It never did. All these things started happening, and it was absolutely to the point where you think, I think I might be losing my mind, but I think it might be okay because it still feels better than what I was doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll with it. And God knows what my partner was thinking. I got some weird looks, but God love her. She was accepting it better than what had been going on in this house. So bringing it back to the line, we have found much of heaven. I I had basically created my own hell, and that's the only way I could describe it. It was hell. There was nothing good in it. There was nothing positive in it, and anything I did only ever made it worse. That was it. There was no good in it. There was no good in it. Those last few years, I couldn't name you one good thing that happened, and it was only getting worse because alcoholism was doing what it always does, and it progresses, and it progressed so quick. Especially when COVID happened and the government told me I didn't have to talk to people in bars anymore. I could do it all from home. It was wonderful. And I thought that was great. That was fantastic. And that was the beginning of the end right there. So all of a sudden, I'm doing these steps. And this is me sort of taking this line apart at this point. My partner was still here. I was being given the chance to speak to the people that I may have harmed without involving me, without making it about me. I got the chance to do that. I got the chance to stand in front of people who I deeply, deeply hurt and completely leave out any wrongs they ever did, completely take myself out of it. I got the chance to do that. I got the chance to write down all these things that had been like acid in my brain for so long. These things where you sort of tell yourself, oh, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't bother me. And these things are still going. And I was given the chance to actually do something about this. I had a job. I was keeping a job. Um, People started trusting me um, with everything, with money. Someone actually trusted me with money, which I thought was the weirdest thing because I was actually looking at the guy kind of like, you're a bit fucked in the head. You are if you're trusting me. And because they actually trusted me, all these things started happening. And again, it wasn't small things, not to me. It was revolutionary. It was it was hard and fast and so recognizable to the point where I would just laugh. How is this? Is anyone else watching this? It's like you're the only one in on the joke. It's getting funny at this point. So it kept moving through the steps and kept moving through the steps, like any other sane human being. You know, coming up to step 12. My thought sort of goes to, well, maybe we should just go back and keep sort of going over step 11 just to make sure that's all right, because I didn't want to do 12. I didn't realize that I hadn't even touched or received half of the stuff that I was about to when I started passing this message on the other alcoholics. I didn't realize what was going to happen. Rocketed into a fourth dimension. So I'd already started seeing something that resembled my own personal heaven. This relief in my own brain of the anxieties and the worries. The relief of waking up in the morning, being fine, the relief of going to sleep at night and actually sleeping in a bed, these things was everything that I had always wanted and never known. Being rocketed, absolutely. It was constant, it was fast, of which we had not even dreamed. 9 out of the 10 things that I currently have, I didn't even aspire to have them because it was impossible for me. Sobriety, it'll never happen. A relationship, a loving heart and a clear mind, it's not in the card, so don't ask for it. So I didn't. And the next minute I have these things. And again, my sponsor's still telling me you don't have to question it. Don't try and understand it because you never will. What I then realized that, and this is to quote a friend of mine, every single thing that good that has happened to me in this program is a direct result of something good that I've done for another person. This is where 12 comes in. This is why I can never stop this, nor do I want to. Like anyone else's life, when I got sober, it was a real shock to find out that life still happens around you. People die, relationships end, things happen. So what am I meant to do now that I don't have any sort of crutch for this? And then, funny again, things started happening. So on some of the worst days that I've had in sobriety, some of the worst days of my life, I would be in it and I would be feeling it, and the me would start kicking in, and then the phone would ring, and it would be an alcoholic in a lot worse shape than you are, all of a sudden needing to talk or needing some sort of help. So you would do that, and it would take you away from this problem that you have no say over anyway. Something always caught me when I was about to fall. There was something underneath there that I've never had before, because what I had before was alcohol. So it always created a new problem. All of a sudden, there was this thing that I could fall back on. This, as long as I kept doing this, I was going to be okay. And it hasn't been easy. I know I made that sound like it's a very cut and dry. It hasn't been easy because it's faith. It's not just being willing, it's faith. And I've never had that before, ever. But all of a sudden, I had something there, something loving, something amazing that every time my life was going to shit, I guarantee you someone out there is suffering more than you are right now. So it's contingent on working with others. When I talked to a friend recently and he had mentioned, you know, that you can take the meaning as it's your world with a new God consciousness. And I've been thinking about that for days as well, trying to wrap my head around that because I didn't even see it coming. And nor did me and my sponsor overly get into a conversation when I was doing these steps about, you know, how do you believe in God? How do you believe in a power greater than yourself? How does this work? How do you start? But didn't. He read the book. If I had questions, he would answer them. I didn't believe in God. I just believed in what I could see, what I could feel was usually pain and misery. But all of a sudden, I didn't have to question this. I had something that was working in me, and I was able to maybe share the load a little bit at the start. I was able to sort of take a step back and realize that I was really bad at trying to control all these things. I mean, you talk about, finding much of heaven. All of a sudden, these things that I was able to just sat down at my feet, step away from, and realize that I was really shit at trying to run this thing. I'd done a piss poor job of it, and it was time to give something else a chance. I couldn't do it anymore. I really, really couldn't. And every time I look in my book and I see this underlined and I see a star next to it and I see an arrow on the other side of it where I've underlined frantically in case we'll have to turn the page and I forget what it was. A lot of people, and one of the reasons I'm talking about this, I've had sponsees talking about this. What is the fourth dimension? What is it? And for me, it was so complicated to try and understand. And I still can't understand it. What is the fourth dimension? It just is. And that's something I really stand by. That's the explanation. It just is. Do the steps and find out. Open the book and help someone and find out. And I've said that to sponsees and they've sort of looked at me like, okay, so you just want to carry on reading? I'm like, no, I guarantee you, just do the steps and do the work and you'll see what I'm seeing right now. It's like having the most violent sunglasses taken off your face to finally see. And that's exactly what happened to me. And not every day has been amazing, but every day has been amazing. And I wholeheartedly stand by that. From what I've come from to where I am now, I spoke to my partner about this a couple of days ago, that this was the topic that I was going to take a chance and maybe talk about. So my interpretation of a fourth dimension of where I am right now compared to where I was. It's not just different circumstances in my life, new God consciousness, new thinking, new everything because of this. So I went from, I think I should just end this and, actually convince myself that everyone else around me would actually be okay with that because it was so much of a nuisance and a whatever else. I'd convinced myself of that. So I had that. I was losing my job, partner was leaving, and it was just about as dark as it could get. Could never tell the difference between day and night because it was always just one constant drink. I sit here now being able to talk with people in this room that have been there for me countless times, sharing in a book that I didn't want to look at and now has really haggard pages and they're scribbled on and wrote on. And my first child is going to be born in around 3 weeks. Just like that. Just like that. In 3 weeks' time. That was never meant to be for me. I'd used all the cards that I had to play. I had no future. I was barely in the present, and I definitely didn't want to remember the past. That is my fourth dimension. My problems go to something a lot bigger than me because I found out that I'm not really good at the problem solving. So I've more time now because I don't have to solve the problems. Don't have to. I hand them over to something a lot smarter than me. What I can do is help others. And when I do that, I get helped even more so than them. And life starts to surprise me at every turn. I'm sitting at home, my partner's nearby, a baby on the way, some sober people to talk to each day, whether they're, trying to help me or I'm trying to help them, we're all just helping each other. I get up early in the morning, even at, a few years into sobriety, and see getting up in the morning when the sun's rising or at nighttime when it's setting or something like that, I still sort of have a giggle to myself. I never had the attention span to watch a sunrise. And I was never up early enough for it unless I was still up. Just them things. And a lot of people would look going, right, he's talking about the sunrise, it's time to shut the meeting off. But that is one of the big things in my head that I've never let go of. They may be small to some, they're absolutely massive to me. I actually got overly excited the other day. My partner was looking at me like I had two heads because I got really excited about taking the newborn child to her first AA meeting with me. Because she's going to be up and I'm going to be up and we'll just do it together, and see the excitement I got. And I was like, I finally have a partner to bring with me to a meeting, anything like that. It proper got me excited, I've no excuse not to go to the 6:30 a.m. meeting anymore. And I'm so excited for it because I was in this house not long ago and I was near dead. I was a ghost. I really, really was just a ghost and in pain and afraid that I was right. And I wasn't right. I haven't been right at all. I hadn't been right in a long time. The only thing that I ever did right was open the front of this book, and that wasn't even me that did that. It's absolutely amazing. So find your own fourth dimension, open the book, get a sponsor. You can't do it without a sponsor. I most certainly couldn't. Can't work my way through any sort of textbook without someone there to guide me. But come and find out exactly what the people in this room have found. And I know some of the people in this room, and I've seen that the state that they come in, and they're beautiful people. They were just in a lot of pain. Come and find out what exactly I'm talking about, if I'm not making any sense now. Catherine, I'm just looking at time there. Am I good or no?
You've got more time if you want to keep
Yeah,
going, but
cool.
yeah,
And that's exactly why I wanted to talk about this topic, because it was the first thing. And I thought it would be good if there is any newcomers. I'm not sure if there is, but this is still in step one. So I was hoping some people would be able to relate to it. When anything jumps out to you in that book, underline it like I did and ask about it, because that's what piqued my interest. I honestly thought I was going to be one of those many people that maybe done a step or two, went back to their old life, and that would just be it. And my partner would eventually get a grip of herself and let all this no drinking nonsense go, and we could just move on, and people would accept me for what I am. It's just not how it played out. I trusted the man whose car I was in, and he passed on the exact same message that had been given to him not long before. And all I ever had to do was to be willing. So if anyone is sitting in the meeting, and I'm not preaching or anything like that, absolutely not. If anyone is sitting in the meeting thinking, I don't know what I'm doing here, this isn't going to work for me, and what do I do? Not much. You just have to be willing. You just have to be willing that you're speaking to the right person. You have to be willing that there's something better for you than what you're currently doing. Um, I really, I have said this a lot in meetings over the years, but to this day, I still sometimes get a fear, and I'll mark it down on my card, my inventory card that I keep every day for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, fear. And I'll still mark a fear down sometimes that I am going to wake up from this and just be in another hangover. It's a real fear, and I don't know why, but it fills me with gratitude. It really, really does. It just wasn't meant to play out like this, and all of a sudden I'm sober a good while. I get to help other people. I don't have to. I get to help other people. Everything that I've never asked for has been given in abundance. And I get to learn something every time I come into one of these rooms. And while I'm sitting here, like I'm sitting, bigging myself up, keep in mind that this is with the mistakes that I make every single day. Every single day. Because sometimes I really hope that I don't have to take a meeting with this person, or something so deluded and selfish. That's just me. And I mess up every single day. Every single day. It's progress, not perfection, but as long as you're still making the progress, I have to learn constantly. I've messed up so many times this year. I really have. But it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey. And this is only the start of it, and the things that I've already discovered. So picture what the next few decades are going to bring. If you have any sort of fears, anything like that, well, if you have any of that, then you're in the right place anyway. We're all just people filled with fear, selfishness, dishonesty, resentment. So you're in the right place. I promise you, whatever you find here is going to be a lot better than what you've had. And we can usually hear it in your voice. I know my voice was quite shaky when I was in my first meeting, but when you start finding the strength back in your voice, it's something absolutely wonderful. So come and find out exactly what your fourth dimension is. Find out what all these people have. Find out what it is that they're hanging on to so tightly that they're never going to let it go. Catherine, I'm going to leave it there. But thank you very, very much for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks.